And we're live. Another one, guys. Thanks for coming back. Thanks for getting a little bit of the news and motivation on this beautiful Friday. Let's just jump right in. Let's see what's going on. Let's see what's going on with the news. And keep it a little. All right, let's jump into that world news now. What's going on in the world?
Great. To kick off your live stream, here is a concise list of the current top world news points. India terror crackdown. The National Investigation Agency, NIA, is intensifying its probe into an Al-Qaeda terror conspiracy, conducting raids across 5 states. This follows the deadly explosion near the Red Fort in Delhi earlier this week, which the government has labeled a heinous terror incident. Gaza ceasefire status. The fragile ceasefire continues to hold. UN agencies report that over 9 in 10 children in Gaza are showing signs of aggressive behavior and distress due to the 2 years of conflict. Restoration work has begun on some damaged sites like the historic Pasha Palace. China-Japan/Taiwan tensions. China has summoned the Japanese envoy and demanded the Prime Minister retract remarks on Japan's potential involvement in a Taiwan emergency, warning Japan must bear all the consequences for interference. Russia-Ukraine conflict. A major Russian drone and missile attack on Kyiv early this morning killed 4 people and wounded dozens, making it one of the largest attacks on the capital recently. COP30 Climate Summit. Negotiators at the Climate Summit in Brazil face delays as a new analysis warns the world remains on track for a 2.6 degrees Celsius temperature rise. Which of these 5 world news points would you like to discuss first on the Daily Edge?
Well, Google Gemini. Let's see if we can. Yeah, what exactly went on with Russia?
Russia launched a massive combined drone and missile attack on Ukraine overnight, with the capital city of Kyiv being the primary target. Key facts. Target, Kyiv, along with the Kharkiv and Odessa regions. Casualties. 6 people were killed across the capital, including children and a pregnant woman. Weaponry. Ukrainian President Zelensky reported Russia used approximately 430 drones and 18 missiles, including ballistic and aeroballistic types. Damage. The attack damaged high-rise apartment buildings, a school, a medical facility, and critical infrastructure, including the heating system in at least one district of Kyiv. Diplomatic incident. Debris from an Iskander missile strike damaged the embassy of Azerbaijan in Kyiv. Would you like a brief summary of the India terror crackdown or the China-Japan/Taiwan tensions next?
No. What is the heating element in Kyiv? Kyiv. Nah, you thought I said cave.
Kyiv relies on a centralized district heating system to provide heat and hot water to most buildings. Key facts. System operator. The system is primarily operated by the municipal infrastructure. It involves a massive network of pipes, around 2,700 kilometers, that distribute hot water from large central sources. Heat source. The main sources of heat are 2 major gas-fired combined heat and power, CHP plants, CHP5 and CHP6, along with many smaller boiler houses. Recent damage. The recent Russian missile attack damaged sections of the main heating network, the heat main, in the Desnyansky district, causing a temporary loss of heat for some residential buildings. The goal of these attacks is to intentionally target this critical civilian infrastructure, especially as winter approaches. Would you like to move on to the India terror crackdown or the China-Japan/Taiwan tensions next?
Why do they even have heating sources like that? Why is it not more like the United States? I don't think we have that. Maybe we do.
That's a great question. The system in Kyiv is called district heating, DH, and it's very common in Eastern Europe and parts of Scandinavia, but less so in the United States. Here is a short, factual comparison. District heating, Kyiv, what it is. A centralized system where large plants, often combined heat and power or CHP plants, generate heat for an entire city or large neighborhood. History.
Produce heat.
Most of
Power
these massive
plants.
DH networks in Eastern Europe were built during the Soviet era for cheap, universal heating. The U.S. contrast. In the U.S., most residential heating is decentralized, meaning each building, home, or apartment has its own furnace, boiler, or heat pump. Why Kyiv uses it? Efficiency. Centralized plants can be much more fuel efficient than thousands of individual units. Cost/scale. It provided a method for rapidly and cheaply heating large, densely populated urban areas. Flexibility, modern view. The pipes can be adapted relatively easily to use modern, cleaner heat sources like geothermal, waste heat, or large heat pumps, a major focus in current European energy strategy. Is DH in the US? Yes, but typically only on a smaller scale in specific areas.
Like
campuses.
Skyscrapers.
Many large universities, like MIT, use DH systems. Downtowns. Some major city centers, like the system in Manhattan, New York, have large DH steam systems. Penetration. Only about 4% of the US heating demand is met by district heating, compared to over 50% in many Scandinavian countries. Would you like to move on to the India terror crackdown or the China-Japan/Taiwan tensions next?
Well, shit, I learned something today. Can't say I didn't. Yeah, what's going on with China, Japan, Taiwan?
This is a major diplomatic row that involves strong warnings from China to Japan. Key facts on China-Japan/Taiwan tensions. The spark, Japanese Prime Minister Sanae Takaichi stated in Parliament that a Chinese attack or blockade of Taiwan could constitute a survival-threatening situation for Japan. The implication, this survival-threatening designation under Japan's 2015 security laws could allow Japan's military to exercise its right to collective self-defense and potentially intervene. China's response, China's vice foreign minister summoned the Japanese ambassador to lodge a strong protest and demanded Takaichi immediately retract her remarks, calling them erroneous and dangerous. The warning. China warned that any Japanese interference in the Taiwan issue would be considered an act of aggression, and Tokyo would be made to bear all the consequences and suffer a crushing defeat. Escalation. Japan has also filed a protest with China over a social media post from a Chinese diplomat that threatened Takaichi. The diplomatic row has been described as one of the most heated in years. Would you like to discuss the India terror crackdown or move to another news segment like
Let's 30,000 Australian students lost their qualifications for some education or something? Sorry, Boots won't be
That's
on.
correct. Over 30,000 graduates in Australia have lost their vocational qualifications due to a major government crackdown. Key facts. The reason. The qualifications were voided because the colleges that issued them were deemed critically non-compliant and operating as shonky or ghost colleges.
Okay.
The regulator, the Australian Skills Quality Authority, ASQA, led the crackdown, canceling the registrations of multiple vocational education and training VET providers since late 2024. The findings, investigations found colleges failed to ensure students completed required assessments, issued certificates without proper training, or granted credit for experience without assessment. The impact. The loss of qualifications affects people in fields like early childhood, aged care, construction, and community services. Okay. Graduates are left with void diplomas and wasted tuition fees that sometimes exceeded $20,000. Would you like to move on to the India terror crackdown or switch to your local news, Fairmont MN segment?
No, I did want to get into I know we're going really quick. I'm just trying to give you guys some quick information. If you guys have any questions, let me know. I can always deep dive into something else, especially if you guys are working, doing stuff with your hands, don't have time to just sit and look up what the hell's going on in the world. Tune in and you'll find out. Shoot a quick message to me and I'll do that looking for you. Yeah, what's going on in India? They're back digging. Hopefully I don't screw up my internet. as I say it, did I screw it up? Possibly. All right. The National Investigation Agency, NIA, in India is running two major anti-terrorist operations right now. One linked to a recent attack.
The National Investigation Agency, NIA,
And
in
what I
India
just said.
is running two major separate anti-terror operations right now. One linked to a recent attack, and another that is a long-running Al-Qaeda conspiracy probe. One probe into the Delhi blast, primary focus. The incident. On Monday, November 10th, 2025, a deadly car explosion occurred near the Red Fort in Delhi, killing at least 13 people. The Indian government has officially labeled it a, quote, heinous terror incident. The link. The probe is currently focusing on a busted white-collar terror module spanning multiple states, J&K, Haryana, UP. The driver of the exploded car, Dr. Umar Nabi, was connected to Al Fallah University in Faridabad, which is now being audited. Arrests. Authorities have arrested several individuals, including doctors and a college professor, who were allegedly part of a network linked to groups like Jaish-e-Mohammed, JEM. 2. Al-Qaeda crackdown, ongoing. What it is. The NIA is intensifying a separate, longer-running case against an Al-Qaeda-linked conspiracy involving illegal Bangladeshi immigrants. The raids. They conducted searches at 10 locations across 5 states, including West Bengal, Gujarat, and Tripura, to track down the network's extent, financial channels, and connections. The aim. The module is suspected of using forged Indian identity documents to enter India and was involved in collecting and transferring funds to Al-Qaeda operatives in Bangladesh. The most urgent news is the fallout and investigation of the Delhi blast near the Red Fort.
Okay.
Would you like to know more about the suspects or the broader security implications?
So yeah, that's not I don't know. Kind of weird when you keep up with the news, what is actually going on there and everywhere. No. Let's get national, guys. That was kind of a taste of what's going on in the world. Let me clean these glasses better. No, what's going on nationally now?
Here is a concise list of the current top U.S. national news points. U.S. national news. Government shutdown aftermath. The federal government is in the process of reopening following the longest shutdown in U.S. history, 43 days, which ended when President Trump signed a revised funding bill on November 12th. Full recovery of services and payment backlogs is expected to take time. Supreme Court activity. SCOTUS. The Supreme Court resolved a pending case regarding the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, SNAP, benefits, which were fully funded by the shutdown-ending law, making the court challenge moot. SCOTUS will hold a private conference today to discuss which additional cases they will hear this term. Civil service lawsuit. The National Treasury Employees Union, NTEU, filed a lawsuit against the administration for allegedly violating the Freedom of Information Act, FOIA, by refusing to release lists of federal jobs that may be converted from merit-based civil service to politically appointed positions. Immigration/deportation. The administration is reportedly preparing to deport some Ukrainians with final removal orders back to their war-ravaged country, despite conscription fears and international concerns about sending people to unsafe areas. Which of these national news points, government shutdown,
No, there's got to be more national news. What else can you dig up?
You are correct. I can certainly dig up more national news. The biggest stories center on the fallout from the long government shutdown and new administration actions. Here are additional, more specific U.S. national news points. Top U.S. national news. Economic impact of shutdown. New data from the Bureau of Economic Analysis, BEA, shows that the shutdown caused consumer sentiment to fall to a near record low in November. Wall Street is seeing a tech stock sell-off as investors await delayed official economic reports on jobs and inflation. New terrorist designations. The U.S. Department of State announced the designation of 4 violent Antifa groups, including Antifa Ost, as specially designated global terrorists, SDGTs, building on the administration's commitment to confront political violence. Immigration rule blocked. ADC Circuit Court temporarily blocked a Department of Transportation rule that would have prohibited certain immigrants, asylum seekers, refugees, from driving commercial trucks or buses, a rule that threatened the livelihood of an estimated 200,000 workers. New Georgia election prosecutor. A new prosecutor has been appointed to take over the Georgia election case against President Donald Trump and other defendants, replacing the previous prosecutor who faced a legal challenge. Infant formula recall. There is a widespread recall of By-Heart infant formula due to multiple confirmed cases of botulism in infants who consume the product. Which of these 5 national news points, economic impact, terrorist...
No, let's talk about a little more of the, we're sending Ukrainians back to Ukraine? Doesn't quite sound right.
This is a new and controversial development being pursued by the U.S. government. Key facts on deporting Ukrainians. Target group. The administration is reportedly preparing to deport some Ukrainian nationals who have final orders of removal due to violations of U.S. law, such as minor criminal offenses. The number. Ukraine's embassy in the U.S. is aware of approximately 80 Ukrainian nationals in detention facing these final orders. If carried out, this would be the highest number of Ukrainians deported in recent years. Logistics. U.S. authorities are working on arrangements, with reports suggesting some detainees are being told they may be removed via military flights to Ukraine or Poland as early as next week. International concerns. Human rights advocates argue that international treaties typically prohibit sending people to countries where they face persecution, torture, or a credible threat to life, which applies to a war zone like Ukraine. Ukraine's stance. An advisor to President Zelensky reportedly stated, "The U.S. can deport as many as they want. We'll find good use for them," suggesting they would be needed for conscription or war efforts upon return. The contrast. This deportation push is separate from the Temporary Protected Status, TPS, and Uniting for Ukraine, U4U programs, which cover hundreds of thousands of other Ukrainians who are legally protected from deportation. Would you like a quick factual rundown of the infant formula recall or the new terrorist designations before we move on to local news? Fairmont, MN?
No, let's jump into is there anything new going on in Fairmont today? Is there? Well, by golly, there is.
Here's the latest news and information for Fairmont, Minnesota, as of today, Friday, November 14th, 2025. Top local headlines. City Administrator transition. The Fairmont City Council is working on a transition plan, as interim City Administrator Jeff O'Neill is set to end his role on November 23rd. The city had interviewed 5 candidates for the permanent position this past fall, but all 3 candidates selected for a second interview ultimately withdrew their consideration. Vaccine demand high. Officials at United Hospital District, UHD, report a high rate of demand for seasonal flu and cold vaccines at the Fairmont Clinic during the fall season. Adaptive Hoop Success. The Fairmont Community Education and Recreation, CER, is celebrating the success of its Adaptive Hoops program. This non-traveling basketball program helps students in grades 4 to 7 with varying abilities build sports skills and promotes inclusion. Community events. Farewell event. The public is invited to say farewell to Pastor Wilson from St. John's Lutheran Church in Sherburne at an event tonight at the Fox Lake Event Center north of Sherburne from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. FHS Theater Production. The Fairmont High School FHS Theater Department is raising the curtains on its fall musical production of Mamma Mia. The show is running this week and is expected to be a community favorite. Leaf pickup continues. Curbside leaf pickup for Section 3 is currently scheduled to continue through today.
Okay.
Leaves must be ready by 7 a.m. on the scheduled Monday morning and placed in a windrow on the boulevard. Is there a specific topic or event you'd like more details on?
I mean, at this point in time, I've kind of dug into a lot of that. What is going on in the forecast? It is crazy warm today for November. Get outside, guys.
You're absolutely right. It is unseasonably warm today. Here's a concise forecast overview for both Fairmont, MN, and Nashville, Tennessee. Weather forecast. Location. Condition, today. High/low. Notes. Fairmont, MN. Partly sunny. High near 65 degrees Fahrenheit. Low near 46 degrees Fahrenheit. Enjoy the warm afternoon before a cool down this weekend. Nashville, Tennessee. Sunny and pleasant. High near 74 degrees Fahrenheit. Low near 53 degrees Fahrenheit. Warmer than usual. A great day for being outside. Weekend outlook. Quick glance. Location. Saturday, Sunday. Fairmont. MN.
All right, just give me a quick 7-day. I don't want to.
Here is the quick 7-day
Fairmont
forecast for
and
both
Nashville.
Fairmont, MN, and Nashville.
Okay, boys and girls. Damn. I mean, mid 40s. Even next Wednesday, it's supposed to almost get back up to 50. And then Nashville is going to be in the 70s, low 60s, and then back up to the 70s. So, got a lot of motivation to think of. Get us hanging out with our family and friends on this weekend. What do we got for motivation?
That's a fantastic note to end the news segment on, especially with the beautiful weather. For your motivation and for everyone tuning in to the Daily Edge, here are a couple of short, powerful quotes about connection and gratitude for the weekend. Weekend motivation. 1. Family and friends are hidden treasures. Seek them and enjoy their riches. Wanda Hope Carter. 2. The greatest legacy we can leave our children is happy memories. O.G. Mandino. 3. Rest is not idleness, and to lie sometimes on the grass under trees is by no means a waste of time. John Lubbock. That concludes the world, national, local, and forecast segments. Would you like a quick rundown of the Nashville news before you wrap up your news block?
No, I'm not 100% sure why I have Nashville in there. Or maybe you thought I said Nashville. Probably thought I said Nashville somewhere. Neither here nor there, guys. That is some good weekend motivation. Family and friends are hidden treasures. Seek them. Enjoy their riches. The greatest legacy we can leave our children is happy memories. Rest is not idleness, and to lie sometimes on the grass under a tree by no means a waste of time. Is by no means a waste of time. Well, John, OG, Wanda, thank you. And to you guys watching this, thank you very much. Until Monday, guys, keep your head up, keep moving forward, do your best. Adios.